Hey everybody, it's David Pingree here with Vital MX along with Sean Klinger. And we got a project today that is kind of playing off something we did recently with a Yamaha YZ250F bone stock and a YZ125 that Pro Circuit had done up. And we did a comparison of those two bikes. We dynoed them, we did lap times, and we kind of added in the fun factor and tried to determine which bike we liked best, did best on, and all that. So we had a lot of fun doing that. We thought, hey, let's try it with a KTM 150 and a 250F over there. These bikes are both stock with the exception of exhaust systems. FMF provided exhaust systems for both bikes. So we thought with a little bit bigger displacement here in a 150, how does that compare to a 250F? So we came out here to a hill track that is in the middle of nowhere. Fun hill track, bumpy, ruddy, lots of hills, so a really good place to test, really fun spot. So I started on the 150, and we didn't dyno these bikes because we kind of know the results already. That thing's going to make less horsepower than this 250F. But we wanted to get lap times on each, and we wanted to just, again, try to determine which bike we had more fun on, which one did we enjoy riding the most. So the one thing I noticed about the 150 is a little bit soft for me. I did some clicker adjustments and got it where it was better, but I probably needed a little more air pressure and maybe a little more tuning to get it 100%. But obviously having a blast on that thing right away. And when we started doing some lap times, my best was a 229. And I thought, all right, it's pretty good. Let's hop onto the 250F. Got used to this thing. It kind of encourages you to ride a little more mellow and a little more kind of controlled, where that 150, much like a 125, just wants you to wring its neck. Keep the throttle twisted, beat up the clutch, and really be aggressive. You're constantly shifting, but it makes it a lot of fun. So on this bike, the 250F, I found I could just be a little bit more patient coming into turns, roll the throttle on. I didn't have to mess with the clutch as much. I was able to really push hard into obstacles and things like that because the suspension was a little firmer, just in stock setting. And when I went to do a hot lap, 229, exactly the same, literally down to the same tenth. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I've always said, from bike to bike anyway, they're only going to go as fast as you can go. So that rang true with me. If I'm picking which bike I had more fun on, I think again it comes down to the track. Today, out here, I really like that 150 again, but if it got to where it was a little more hard pack, or maybe really deep sand or deep dirt, I probably like the 250F a little bit better, just because it's got that extra torque, it's got better traction, a little bit better front end traction into corner entrances and things like that. But I had a ball on both. I think if I had to pick one to go racing, I'm picking the 250, but if I'm just picking one for good times, that 150 is tough to beat. The pull in the mid-range of that thing is unreal. I mean, I had to keep my head up over the clamp because when it comes on, the front end just wants to get off the ground. So anyway, that was my experience. Sean, let's hear what you did.
Starting off shooting videos and photos and just putting around a little bit, I was immediately more comfortable on the four-stroke. I'm a lot more comfortable on four strokes, so that was kind of my comfort zone. And when I hopped on the 150, you know, it just takes a lot more work. So it's funny that you were talking a little bit about depends on the track. So for me, I think just before we talk about lap times, just riding it, I felt like I had to work a lot harder on the 150 in kind of a more motocrossy setting rather than being at like Paula or Kuya or anything where there's, you know, jumps and turns and that kind of stuff. I feel like a two-stroke is a little more fun, but out here it was just kind of hard for me to ride. But then when we decided to do our hot laps and time it, I actually found, you know, getting the 125 to turn exactly where I wanted it to get into the rut and pivot out of it, it was a lot easier than the four-stroke. So on the 250, I was kind of blowing through some of the turns when I was trying to do my hot lap. I did my lap times on the 150 first, and I was 3 minutes 7 seconds was my fastest lap time on that. And then hopping on the 250F, I dropped it down to 3:02. So not a huge difference. I mean, in a 3-minute lap, It's only 5 seconds faster on the 250F. I have a hard time deciding which one I felt faster on. I know I was a lot more busy on the 150, shifting, braking, deciding, picking my line. On the 250F, I felt like I could just charge a little bit more. And like Ping said, the suspension is definitely set up softer for a lighter rider on the 150. The 250F set up for a heavier person. Even the stock air pressures, the forks are the AER forks, and this is about 1 full bar lower in air pressure as the stock. So if I had to go race, I think I'd still choose the 250F just because that's what I'm more comfortable on and I'm a little bit more fast. But if I was gonna pick one, I don't know, I'm kind of in a pickle. Like I've been this whole time trying to decide which one I would want to put in my garage, because the 150, I don't feel like it's lacking any power, especially like what you said in the mid-range. It just pulls really hard. It's so light, you could just put it anywhere you want, and it makes you feel like you can ride better than you actually do. So I would say if I was gonna race, I'd pick the 250F. If I was just gonna have one in my garage to have fun on, the 150.
And one thing I'll add, that whether it's the 150 or a 125, the great thing about those bikes, if you're like me, an older guy I really don't want to get hurt anymore, I've had my share of that, never do I feel like I'm just going along for the ride. I always feel like I've got pretty good control of that. Doesn't mean I'm not going to fall over in a turn or still have a crash, but where a 250 or especially a 450, at times if you get a little bit of arm pump or just hit a bump, you can just be hanging on for dear life. I never feel like that on those. I've always got control of it because it's lighter, because there's less spinning mass and all that. So that's something I really like about that, is I feel safer on it at the end of the day, and I'm having fun. And so for me, that's really a big plus for those.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, when we did our hot laps at the end of the day, my last lap was on that, and I was towards the end of the lap, I was just hanging on. I was just tired and my arms were, pumping up and everything. And I feel like I could ride this, I don't want to say twice as long, but just ride this all day and not be fatigued.
Let me just ask you this, between a 125 or a 150, how much difference did you feel? And again, we were going against a pro circuit built YZ 125 versus basically a stock 150. But
I've ridden 150s before, and I kind of expected a little bit more torque, but I didn't really feel that today. Maybe it's where we're riding, but overall, I did feel more meat in the mid-range. Like when you did hit the power band and be on top of the power, I felt like that was stronger because it felt really, really close to the 250F. But kind of off the bottom, I was definitely having to rev it up a little bit coming out of turns.
I thought the same thing, and I didn't know if maybe this exhaust is sort of designed to shift the power up, because the middle and top are insane. I think it'll rev to the moon, and like I said, that middle is strong. But I definitely, if this was my bike, I would try to get that power down a little lower, maybe add a little spacer to the exhaust to get a little bit more bottom or something, just so it'll pick up a little easier. Because as it is, man, you really had to be on that clutch hard.
Yeah, you had to work for it.
Well, either way, lots of fun. Big thank you to KTM for letting us borrow these bikes and do this comparison. If you've got a favorite, or you've ever, you got one of each of these bikes, man, leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think, and we'll see if we can come up with some more of these, maybe 250 versus 250. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.